Even though I take it to shows, I kid everybody and say, still has dirt under there from 1940. It's an original chassis. It's got an I-beam in there. It's been lowered down as low as I can get it without airbags. And I had a guy named Fritz. That's Fred Schenk, probably the most radical custom car builder in the country today, in my opinion. He's built a couple of bubble cars, and he restores a lot of the original Ed Roth cars.
Wow, yeah.
And so he chopped my car. We lowered the car down about 3 inches, and he came up with the idea of making the B-pillar round. He says, because most of them are, well, the factory made them straight up and down, and he thought it would look better round. So I went along with it, and it has a real nice look. The car looks like it's moving forward even when it's sitting still.
Again, it's the designer's eye. You know, the designers who kind of know. They have that. I have a daughter that has that vision. She goes, no, it should be this way instead of that way. And we've learned to just like defer to her and say, okay, well, you know what you're doing. It looks like we have another phone call, and we do. We have our buddy Cliff on the line. So as soon as we get our telephonic communicator coronificated over here, we'll say, hi, Cliff, you're on to Motor Mouths.
Hey, guys, how you doing? I got to give you guys a lot of credit for doing a remote broadcast. I know there's a ton of engineering involved in there. And
you got to see what we're doing just to hear your phone call.
Yeah.
I got a question for Gary. Gary, I'm a fan of Gary's. He's done a few of my cars. He's even done a minivan of mine. and I just had a question. I know he's one of the prolific, famous guys that I know of in the area. And I know when I was a kid growing up in Queens, there was another guy, Vic Kessler, very known. Do amongst the pinstripe, and I've always been fascinated and think it's an amazing art. Did you guys ever have like an association of? Do you meet the other pinstripers, or do you happen to be friends with the other pinstripers, or have any kind of associations? I was just always curious with that, and I just want to compliment on Gary on his amazing work. And he also
Gary,
did a nice 911 truck.
The other
he did an amazing
pinstripers
911 truck that I saw, and.
Vic Kessler, if you obviously, I guess if you guys had commiserated, if you knew each other, and if there was any association you guys belonged to.
There's not any real association. I knew Vic as a competitor. He was a good guy. He very seldom came into Nassau County, and I very seldom went into Queens, but we would bounce off each other now and then.
Right.
Sorry to say, I went to his funeral. I met his family at the funeral. And when I met his son came up to me and said, so you're Gary the local brush. And I said to him, I didn't like the way you said that.
Yeah.
He said, well, let me tell you what my father said. He said, you're not a pinstriper, you're an artist. And I turned around and I said, well, I looked up at the sky and I said, thanks, Vic, I appreciate that. Today, it's not like back in the day. Back in the day, nobody wanted to tell anybody how to paint. Nobody wanted to tell anybody what brushes you were using. It was all secret.
Yes.
But today with Facebook, we all talk to each other. There's a lot of events that I go to now. There's the Syracuse Nationals, upstate New York. There's about a good 75 pinstripers from all over the world that come there. And we all pinstripe for charity. And it's called Artie's Party.
I was just going to bring up Artie Schilling, because he's a good friend of ours. He does Artie's Party.
Right.
He kind of, I don't know if he pioneered it. He told us about it
a few years ago.
He does it down. He's in Myrtle Beach, and what he likes to do is he called them. I didn't call it a panel jam. He said he would take a 4x8 sheet of sheetrock, score it long ways, and crack it, tent it, and they would have like maybe 8 pinstripers come down, and everybody would start at a station, and you would just lay some lines down for like 5 minutes. Then it's like musical chairs. You'd switch to the next station. So by the time you got done, all 8 pinstripers or 10 pinstripers had added, and each work was a totally different conglomeration. I've seen this myself. It's phenomenal when you have talented people that can do that.
Each guy uses a different color, and then he signs his name with that color, so you know who did what on that pinstriping design. But we all get together, and we do it for charity. It's 3 days worth of work, and you can do work ahead of time and just bring it. You try to do at least 3 panels, and I usually do most of my work ahead of time, and when I get there, I'll finish it up, because people like to see you working. But to start there, I like to do a lot of airbrush work more than just pinstriping, and so it takes a lot longer to do airbrush work than it does pinstriping. So I do that ahead of time, and then I
I know Artie's charity is around McDonald House.
Right.
He raises a lot of money for that charity. He's done some great work.
He does charities all over the country.
Yeah, he does.
Yep. And he was just at Dead Man's Curve.
Right. Yes, he was.
Yep. I was there. And but it's fun because the pinstripers now, even on Facebook, can talk to each other. They discuss problems that they have with each other. Newbies that are getting into the business ask guys like myself questions on how to do stuff, and it's we just throw out the answers, you know. And brushes are much more available today from all different companies, and so it's just easier to work.
I remember last time my wife and I had gone to the Syracuse Nationals a few times. We wanted to broadcast, and they always asked, hey, if you guys can broadcast, we'll give you a table, and we couldn't do it at the time. But now maybe going forward, we will be able to do that.
Yeah.
And you're in the hotel lobby, and you're going up and down with all these pinstripers. I think Kenji is one of the guys. There was a guy from Hawaii. There was a couple Italian guys. There was some Japanese guys.
Yep.
From those respective countries.
Right.
And that's how Artie's draw is. You know, it's worldwide. And you get to see their work. And
he's got guys from Switzerland, Finland coming in.
Yeah.
Of course, most of the guys are from the United States.
Right.
But guys from California come in.
Right.
And a lot of us from New York are there.
Sure. Do you have a favorite style, or do you classify yourself as any particular type of style that you like to do, or are you... Or do you not like to keep yourself in a box like that? I know a lot of guys.
I like a challenge when it comes to artwork.
Okay.
If somebody comes up with an idea of something that they want to get done, I can do it. I have to think about it ahead of time. Usually today I'll make a layout, not with pinstriping, but with artwork on a car. I'll do a layout ahead of time, and I'll superimpose it in Photoshop on their car so they can see what the job probably will look like when it's done.
It's like a tattoo. They make up the mask first, and they lay it on and see, and then you can size it and move it. Oh, that's great.
I like to call myself an automotive artist more than just a pinstriper, because I have to say I'm lucky that way. I've been very diversified is the word that I've used with a lot of young guys. If you're not diversified today, you're not going to make it as just a pinstriper.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. The guys who do, the rockabilly stuff, they tend to really hone in on one area. And even on the tattoo shows, you see this, and you say, "Man, how you gonna make it being so locked in?" I mean, you could be very, very good, but you think diversity would be the key.
Well, that's why I say I'm lucky, because I can hand letter a race car, or I can even do vinyl lettering if I have a vinyl cutting machine, and I can do a layout with vinyl. That's just to stay current with everything else. I can do pinstriping, I can do airbrush work, I do gold leaf, so and then I can do full paint jobs. Like I did the motion cars back in the day, and even more recently I just did an unusual stripe on a 2018 Dodge Charger. The guy had me do racing stripes on it from the very bottom of the car, up the grill, across the car, over the roof, down into the bottom. But he said he wanted a honeycomb design in the stripe.
Oh, wow.
Because on the dashboard and the console, very subtly, is that design.
Yeah. Right.
And I just, off the top of my head, no problem. Then the more I thought about it, the more I realized how hard it really was going to be.
It's like doing geometric shapes or biomechanical stuff.
It has to line up. I spent 2 days in the shop that I'm now working in. I'll throw a plug out there. I'm working in Sells Auto Body in Belmore now, because I wanted to almost retire 2 years ago, and the public wouldn't let me. Knock on wood. I got too many phone calls when I put the word out that I was going to retire, and people started saying, I'm in the middle of projects that I plan on using you to do. You can't retire yet. So I figured, let me slow it down a little bit.
That's a nice feeling.
That's good.
It being wanted is nice.
What have you seen in the hobby and hobbyists do it, but you do it as a profession, obviously, changes that have been instrumental in what you do, and or maybe it's something that makes how you do it easier? Is there...
Equipment and paint has gotten better over the years. Airbrushes have gone from very crude airbrushes that I used for years to very high-tech stuff. I used to use for many years an airbrush that was called a Pache.
The red one.
$75.
Yeah.
That was it. I'm using one now that's $800. It's an Iwata.
They make spray guns, HVLP spray guns.
Right, right. And right now I've got about a half a dozen different airbrushes that I use for all different things, and most of them are all Iwatas. The paint today, the urethanes have gotten much better.
Yeah.
I went from Sickens paint that I was sponsored when I first opened up a school back in 1990 the Motion Performance building.
Yep. A couple of my friends went through that school.
They came in and they gave me all the paint, and I loved their material.
Yeah.
I'm going to say about 4 years ago, I was approached by Pep Boys. I got a phone call out of the Clear booth by Pep Boys Marketing. They wanted me to go to all the Barrett Jackson shows and airbrush in their booth at the shows.
Wow.
And they said, you have to sign a contract. It's with Sherwin-Williams Paint, Barrett Jackson Auctions, and Pep Boys. And I asked, why? And they said, well, Sherwin-Williams makes a custom line of paint called Barrett Jackson Custom Paints.
Oh, wow.
And the only place you can buy it is in Pep Boys.
Okay.
And, of course, at all these shows, they wanted me to use their paint. You can't use Sickens paint and promote Sherwin-Williams. So it was a learning curve for me after a while, and that's what I use now. Because, and it worked out in a funny way, because in one of their products, which is a pearl, it said that you have to break down the pearl first with acetone. So I said to the rep, so that means I can put acetone in the paint and it won't hurt anything. He says, yeah, it just evaporates out. It won't hurt anything. So in my mind, I started saying, if that's going to break down the paint like the pearls, why don't I mix it with the regular colors and break it down even more? And it works out real well because the acetone breaks the paint down finer than their reducers, and it goes through the airbrushes much finer, and I can get a much better detailed picture.
That's excellent. So, we have to say on 90.3 WHPC Motormouth Radio, we are sitting here talking with Gary the Local Brush about past and maybe even future trends. Gary, what do you see in the future for the business?
Well, a lot of stuff naturally is going with computers. Everybody's using computers to do artwork. And it's another tool. A lot of people think that it's ruining the business, and it's really not. I mean, freehand pinstriping is freehand pinstriping as far as that goes. But I use masks and things like that to do graphics on cars. I use it to do paint work on cars because it's just easier than masking something off with masking tape all along.
Makes a lot of sense. If you have the ability to have precision like that, you might as well make use of it.
Today, customers want to see what the job is going to look like ahead of time.
Of course.
Years ago, they trusted the artist. They would bring you something, you're the guy to go to, and they'd say, go ahead and do it. And 99% of the time, they were happy with the end result.
Sure.
Today, nobody trusts anybody, and they want to see what the job is going to look like ahead of time. So, and they want their input. They want to help you do the job as it goes along. You know, they'll stop by the shop as you're working and say, "Oh, that looks good," or "Can you change this?" or "Can you modify this?"
Right.
And you know, if you're an easygoing guy, I am. I'll just go along with the customer and make the customer happy. He's paying the bill, so he's got to be happy when the job
exactly.
leaves.
Beats the heck out of showing them a finished product and say, "Hey, you know, you could have done this little." Yeah.
Or they say, "I really liked the job, but that's not what I wanted."
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Big butt. You know,
today it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and there certainly is. I mean, you know, technology, as long as it doesn't get out of hand, I think is a good tool. You know what I mean? You know,
Gary,
cars, all
can
kinds
you
of
tell
stuff.
us, going forward, how people can get in touch with you, how they can find you?
Yeah.
Any information you want to put out there, social media information, whatever, contact number, whatever you like.
I have a website that's been out there for years. It's really an extensive website. It's localbrush.com.
Okay.
And my phone number is on there, so you can get in touch with me real easy.
Okay.
If you want to write me direct, it's real easy. It's Gary@localbrush.com. That's my email address. And I'm working at Sells Auto Body in North Belmore right now.
Right.
You can call me or you can call them.
Right.
And it's an interesting shop. They do total restorations, body off the chassis stuff. So I kind of fit in there real well with that kind of
your kind of shop. Yeah.
Kind of a shop.
All right, Gary, thank you for sitting in with us, and stay put where you are, because now we have the man of the hour. We have the the head of the show here, we have Mr. Billy G.
The man, period.
Billy Velvet.
Yep.
Bill, thanks for taking a few minutes out to be able to sit with us and tell us about this show. Give us a little bit of quick history and have at it.
Well, thanks for having me on. So we had this show. It wasn't the best of weather, but you know what? We had a great turnout. We had 51 cars.
Wow.
So
I didn't count, but wow.